Well, as quickly as the water came up here on Oak Street, it went down just as fast and ended with a march to agri-processors. A year later, people were using the past to call for reform. But they say they're spending more because it costs less. That's correct, Ron. As you said, we've seen and heard the impact this rate has had on many students within the Postville School District. Well, if you had Jay Cutler on your fantasy football team this week, you can thank him for putting up some points. Certainly not easy to tell where your tires were made. In fact, after looking at this tire for quite some time, I discovered it was made in the United States. You're wondering why I'm talking about bananas. To celebrate a year after the floods, this Sunday they're going to be using all the bananas. They'll most likely spend the night in cardboard boxes like this one. Around Postville, USA actually has 3 authors, 2 of which are UNI professors. With the growing trend of social networks like Twitter, many businesses are redefining the old-fashioned word of mouth. Many people here are saying this new hotel will bring more to downtown Dubuque. Honoring the coach with a candlelight vigil just next to us here in the practice field, a place he also spent a lot of time. It's a calm afternoon at Orange Park as Captain Russ Steckline takes a trip around Washington neighborhood.
There's just a lot of good quality residents that are working hard to try to make this a good neighborhood and trying to do away with the perception that it's kind of a crime-ridden neighborhood.
After Monday's fatal stabbing, the second in less than a month, many people here are worried about a rise in crime. Some so afraid they won't even talk on camera.
Stupid stuff like that. There's no cause into it. Stabbing somebody over loud music, I'm sorry, but let it go. To fight over a girl or a guy, what's it proving? It's proving nothing.
Others agree this violence is nonsense.
We call the police. You know, you're not going to hang out here. You're not going to jump this young man, and you're not going to hurt this young man. You know, stop the violence. Stop the violence. Stop the violence. Can't we all just get along?
As neighbors worry and call for action, community police officers are reminding and remembering the good in this neighborhood.
So it shows you we have so few of them that it still means something to people, and people have an outcry when these type of things occur. And that's a good thing, that people just aren't willing to tolerate that type of activity in Dubuque, Iowa yet.
Meanwhile, the neighbors that call this place home say they aren't going anywhere and hope violent crimes stay away.
I want to see the crime to stop. I want the parents to be more involved with the children of all ages, and the neighbors need to come out and speak up.
Looking down Main Street in Galena, you can probably guess it's the annual Oktoberfest.
Getting out, relax a little bit, get away from home.
But dig a little deeper, and this crowd might be a sign of the economy. Believe it or not, there may be something fueling these tourists.
We've slowly been drifting a bit lower here since the beginning of August.
Energy trading advisor Jim Ritterbush says gas in July 2008 reached a record high at $4 a gallon. That average then dropped to $1.60 last December.
Those numbers are just indicating a tremendous amount of uncertainty across virtually all economic spaces.
But now the average of gas is about $2.50 a gallon.
By and large, this has been more of a sideways trend for 4 months now, as opposed to a downward spiral, and I simply don't anticipate a downward spiral.
Something these visitors find relieving.
Tend to buy more knowing that we're not going to be in a crunch as much.
But they say they're spending more because it costs less, and experts say over time that cost could level out and eventually create more confidence in the economy.
Whenever you get a sharp decline in gasoline prices, that's like removing a tax on the consumer. So as a result, that frees up money for consumers to position in other places.
But Ritterbush says ultimately the price of gas depends on how much consumers buy, and he says prices will eventually even out in the coming months.
Looking at good news on balance. I don't see a quick return to $4 a gallon.
Making weekend trips to Galena much more appealing to tourists. In Galena, Lauren Squires, Iowa News Channel 7. That's certainly the case, Ron. Now, for the last 4 years, the city's gone without having a grocery store ever since the Cascade's Food Mart closed its doors about 4 years ago. And since then, city leaders have been working hard to try to bring a grocery store back into town. Well, that's happening in the form of Brothers Market. Driving down First Avenue in Cascade, you'll see just about everything from restaurants, bars, salons, and flower shops. But one store is missing.
We still need a grocery store.
4 years ago, this building, which is now vacant, served as the primary source for groceries. After the owner retired, so did this 40-year-old business. Mayor Greg Stanner has been working for 2 years now to score a new grocery store in town.
We're really fortunate that we've been able to get in with the Brothers Market and the DeVries family. They're very excited about Cascade, and we're extremely excited to have them.
But did you catch the name?
And the DeVries family.
Stanner is talking about Jared DeVries, former Hawkeye standout and now defensive lineman for the Detroit Lions.
Everybody's talking about it, and it's sort of nice, and it's neat that there is an NFL connection with Jared DeVries, but we're just really fortunate to have all the DeVries involved with this.
They're even more excited about bringing groceries close to home, not to mention the more than 20 jobs it will bring, spreading more than food through the community.
They're going to be taking their cars to the mechanics and getting gas here and eating downtown. It'll be just super.
Giving new meaning to supermarket or Brothers Market.
To keep growing and keep Cascade going forward.
And speaking of going forward, the DeVries family is paying for all the costs of the new building. Now they will also get some tax incentives from the city of Cascade for building there. They say they hope to have their doors open by the first of the year. If they're lucky, they'll have it open in time for the holidays, but they say that's a bit of a stretch. Another thing to note, the DeVries family's hometown is Parkersburg.
You're watching KWWL, Iowa's News Channel 7. This is Sports Plus.
Well, there's no place like home for the 12th-ranked Hawkeyes, especially after this weekend when they host Michigan next Saturday at their home turf. Hawks jumped up in 3 spots in the USA Today coaches poll to 14th and 1 spot in the to 12th in the AP poll. The new ranking comes with a winning streak they haven't seen in a while, and our own Matt Halbert talked to the players yesterday after the game. He has this report from Iowa City. Thanks, Matt. Should be a good matchup. Now, Iowa moves up in the polls. Meanwhile, Michigan slips after their 26-20 loss to Michigan State yesterday. So what does that mean for the Hawks? We'll ask Coach Ferentz, and he'll tell you the Hawks have their eye on Michigan's quarterback, Tate Forcier. He's young, he's tough, and he's talented. Despite Michigan's loss Saturday, he fired 2 touchdown passes late in the 4th quarter, healing a 14-point deficit and taking the game into overtime. But the Hawks say they know they have their work cut out for them. Meanwhile, it was no close call yesterday for 3rd-ranked UNI as they tore through Indiana State 62-7. Panthers welcoming a crowd for family weekend. It was plays like this one where the offensive line showed up. Pat Grace, with no pressure in the pocket, finds Skylar Ort wide open in the end zone. Coach Farley says it's a newly developed offensive line that's creating offensive power.
I don't know if Pat got hit unless it was maybe by design that we ran him, so he never really got much pressure in the pocket. And that was the first game back probably since the Iowa game that we had our offensive line was back intact.
The 4-1 Panthers head to Fargo or North Dakota next week. Coming up on Sports Plus, Lions, Tigers, and Bears. Oh my, we'll have highlights of all of them for you, plus nominees for this week's Friday Night Football Play of the Week, covering news and sports in Balltown, McGregor, Asbury, and your hometown. This is Sports Plus on Iowa's News Channel 7.